Good morning. Most of you already know who I am, but for those that may not, or those watching online, my name is Marianne Ryan. I'm Jason's wife. I typically don't handle situational stress very well, isolation very well. Like I will stress myself out to the point of being physically ill. When my stress and anxiety levels go through the roof, it's a real problem for me. So about this time last month, my roommate tested positive for COVID. In the same week, my truck decided it no longer wanted to live. So I was not only stuck in that isolation that I don't handle well, but I was also without wheels, so I couldn't even just go drive around to get out of the house, right? And because only 2 of us were showing symptoms, essentially we were quarantined to our individual bedrooms. To come out of our bedrooms meant we had to alert the other members of the house so that they could kind of evacuate the common areas. You see, my symptoms were similar to my roommates, but I turned out to have an upper respiratory infection that I didn't know what it was until later, though, guys. I was freaking out. So I couldn't leave the house to get my truck in the shop. Now that you kind of know a little bit about me and how I handle things and you kind of have an idea what was going on, let me tell you how amazing our God is. So, and what he's done. Let me just, because it was not me. Couldn't have been me. I don't handle that stuff very well. During my quarantine, I started a journal, which I don't do very well. Reading my devotionals and journaling became my God time during this period of isolation. Not one time in the 2 weeks or so that I was isolated was I physically sick due to stress or anxiety. I wasn't one time worried or stressed about my truck or self-imploding from being isolated. I was able to verbalize in a healthy way to others how I was feeling, where my mind was, at what points I was really struggling, and what points I was okay. I even went virtual birthday shopping because my birthday was right about the same time I was due to get released from quarantine with my daughter and my mother. My daughter, whom I haven't spoken to regularly for more than 3 years. I received phone and video calls and care packages from my mother, my daughter, my husband during this time. I felt so cherished and loved by a family I had almost never felt that way with. In the few weeks following my quarantine, a very good and very long-time friend lost his job and quickly opened his personal shop, his garage, up to my husband and I. He became the mechanic on my truck that was fulfilling something he needed, as well as filling something that we needed. And God had laid it on my husband's heart to reach out to him the very same day that he was walking out of getting fired. He started tearing the whole truck apart. I mean, the engine out and everything. I kind of started like, my heart hurt because that's my baby. He started tearing it down bit by bit, even the motor. The farther that he got, the longer the list of things wrong with it. My dad sold me my truck, and it's the first vehicle that I've ever bought myself. So I'm a little bit attached. However, I found that I wasn't at all worried about what it would cost or whether I would have a ride to work or how long I would be without it. I was basically indifferent, except that I wasn't giving up on my truck. I wasn't going to let it die. This whole process has significantly drawn out the prayer girl in me so much, and has also caused some strong prayer time about issues and praises with my husband, which I have never been able to do, instead of always asking him to pray alone all the time. In every instance where I stepped out of my comfort zone and leaned on and trusted God to have it all well in hand, he has shown an extreme amount of favor and blessing for my small amounts of trust. In the very beginning of this year, you guys, God laid a word on my heart for the year, and that word was trust. This is what me and him were going to wrestle with this year, I guess. My 2021 word to learn from God and of God that has been laid on my heart since New Year's has been trust. And man, he is teaching me just how trustworthy and steadfast he really is. Last Saturday, a week ago Saturday, my other roommate, asked me to go look at a temporary car that may be available while my truck is down. This kind of sent me in a little bit of a worry because, well, I don't have the money for a new car, whether it's temporary or not. All my money is about to go to fixing my truck, so I don't know what you want me to do, lady, but sure, we can go look at it. Turns out these people gave me a car for free. Here's the little way that I know this wasn't just because there are still kind people out there. This was a God thing all the way. When we were discussing the possibility of me needing a new vehicle, there were small but important specifics that I had in mind, most of which I never even said out loud. To anybody, actually. I felt that I needed something a little newer, more reliable than my truck with less mileage. I've never had a remote start before. That would be so cool, I bet, God. I don't prefer a car over a truck, but if I get a car, God, I hope it's as cool as my Sunfire used to be. Stuff I didn't say to another person, but I did say to God. My small wants, my little selfishness, that I slipped in there. Things I thought would be cool. Guys, my God, my rock, my provider, my Father delivered. When least expected, the newest car I have ever owned, reliable enough to jump in it and go to Oklahoma to see my kids right now without a worry. I wouldn't have done that in my truck in the 3 years I owned it. And he even included that remote start I thought would be so cool. God listens, and he does provide. Sometimes not in the way that we think will happen, as I was freaking out about having the money for a new car that I didn't have. But he made sure I got one anyway. Thank you, guys.